Welcome to our first deeper dig. We want to take what we talked about this past Sunday and not just stop there. We were walking through the story of 1 Samuel, overloaded with relationships. And that's what we were talking about this Sunday, and we'll be talking about this upcoming Sunday. If Grace Church, if we stand for loving well, we don't just love well just because we can on our own. We believe that God has first loved us well. And when we accept that love, when we're open to that love, now all of a sudden we're open to loving other people in the same way. It's this mirroring, we're following Him. In the Church of the Nazarene, we would call this sanctification. Once we are able to turn from our old ways to follow God in His love, we start to mirror those same rhythms. We start to become like Him. And so we're enabled to love well. And so that's what we find in the story of 1 Samuel. It opens up with a woman named Hannah who is, really honest before God. She longs to have a son and she can't. So she graciously or humbly comes to God and truthfully and honestly presents her problem. She wants a son, and she tells God that if He'll bless her with this, that this son will live a life centered on God and His love. And God grants this prayer. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Why does God bless Hannah? And what does it seem like in that relationship between Hannah and God? What's going right? Great question, I think. Here at Grace Church, what we really want to do is figure out what is behind that whole loving people well and feeling like we're loved well. Well, in Hannah's story in 1 Samuel, we see it. God first loves Hannah. And this is for each and every one of us. There is a grace, a gentleness, a kindness that God does not have to extend, but chooses to come to us who screw up again and again and again. And still, regardless of that, even when we don't choose Him first, He still extends grace to us. Kind, supportive, loving grace. But it's not just grace, it's also brutally honest. Not brutally, but it is the truest of truths that God comes to us with. And it's that blend of those two things that make God's divine love. God is always completely gracious with us, so kind, so generous, and so gentle. He's also wildly true to us, the truest of truths. He tells us exactly how it is. But both those things together create this divine love, right? Grace without truth is enabling, and truth without grace is abrasive and violent. And so God presents grace and truth to Hannah, and she understands that. So she comes to God with grace and truth. She's humble before Him. She's also brutally honest before Him. She loves God the same way that God loves her first. And so in the aftermath of that is a flourishing relationship. Hannah gives birth to a son. That son is named Samuel because, she says she names him that because the Lord answered her prayers. She asked for him. And so then I start to think, okay, if we want to love well as a church, if we want the prayers that we bring to God to be answered, is the thing that's missing is just that we have to respond to God in the way that He has acted towards us first. He expressed grace, and so our response is to graciously act towards Him. He was honest to us through and through. And so we need to respond back to Him in truth. God loves us, and then we are able to love Him and love others. That relational transformation, we would call it in the church sanctification. As we turn away from our ways that are not very gracious and are not very honest and therefore not very loving, we start to become something better, higher, more like our God. This holiness starts to transform within us. I want to ask you that today. Is there a graciousness from God that you've been weary, avoiding to accept? Because if we accept the grace from God, then it means that we then are called to extend that grace to others, extend that grace to ourselves. In the same way with truth, I mean, we all feel this. Is there some truth that you're avoiding that God is offering? Because you know that if God speaks truth into those things, not only are they real, not only are they're right there, you can't avoid them now. But once God speaks truth to you, now you have to speak truth into other things. Because that's the only logical response when God loves us in grace and in truth. We either respond to it and share it with others, or we run for our lives. This is my prayer for anybody hearing this week. May you find the courage, may you find the boldness, may you find the openness to respond to God's loving grace and loving truth, so that you can not just feel that transform your life, sanctify it, make it holy, but so that the other people who are looking to you and who come across our paths, so that they may too experience the same grace that's been extended to you, the same truth that's been extended to you, the same divine, transformative, relational love that's been extended to you, to a God that loves you and cares for you deeply. May you find that this week, and may it change everything.